Hey folks, it's me, Zloy. I found this village on a cliffside and look how picturesque it is. Yeah, you know what it needs? It needs a castle. I'm thinking something nice, dark and using Deepslate, so we'll be going Gothic today. And we'll need a lot of space for it, because Gothic generally means a lot of detail, and you can only go so much detail with Minecraft blocks. Yeah, the scale is gonna be kind of enormous. Now, of course, there isn't necessarily a place for an enormous castle right now, so we'll need to make one. I figure we're gonna just take a bunch of grass and pave over this ravine right here. And we'll be doing all of this in survival, because that's what this server is on. And also I want to brag for my friends that I built something really cool in survival. That place is gonna be a mob farm. I do not necessarily care about it right now. Okay, jobs are good and this will serve us nicely, at least for the first time, for the first couple of rooms. Now we gotta do some research and a little bit of planning before we get into actual building. I want to plan out what kind of style, what kind of like inspiration images we can get out of this for a Gothic castle. I want to plan out approximate shape, and I want to plan out the approximate block palette we'll be using for the entire build here. This might seem trivial, but it's actually more or less the most important part of building the entire thing, and that ship just spawned right in front of my eyes. The miracle of life. Okay then, let's get on with the research. Really the goal here is to take some inspirational pictures, some from concept art, some from real life, some from just DeviantArt I guess. Potentially watch Castlevania twice on Netflix, you know, that kind of stuff. Ultimately the goal here is to figure out exactly what kind of castle I want, because there are a lot of them. I'm aiming at something Gothic, and one thing I've discovered with Gothic stuff is that it pretty much emerged at approximately the time when castles pretty much stopped being some sort of a military fortification and more became a symbol of status. So we'll be looking for something less defensive and more pretty. It actually is gonna be really hard to build castle precisely and not just a manor or a mansion, because a lot of the pictures I looked up really do look like just a living house with a bunch of spiky spikes on top of the roof. But I figure we'll manage. Like seriously, you weren't even trying here, you just added a tower to a house. Next up, we're looking at a block palette, and I'm actually here at a disadvantage because I'm building in survival, so I'll only be oriented at blocks I can easily get. For example, definitely spruce wood, specifically spruce wood planks, because it's one of the most useful and beautiful blocks in the game, and also the trapdoors are just absolutely amazing. Next up, I was thinking we'll use some dripstone, because it goes actually really well with spruce, in my personal opinion. The pointed dripstone, mind you. Looks really nice as these spiky bits on top of the roofs that all the Gothic stuff has. I mean, look at this. This absolutely is asking to be on top of something and to be very pointy and to be very spiky. I love it. About time somebody took advantage of it. Next up, I think we'll be using some of the brown mushroom blocks, which fairly easy to farm as long as you get some spruce around you, and that generates podzol and you can plant mushrooms on podzol. Basically fairly easy stuff. Gonna be incredibly useful because once again it goes really well with spruce, goes even better with dripstone, and yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. And last but not least, there's gonna be Deepslate. Not even just because it is an amazing block in its own, but because it has so much variety. We can accomplish quite a few textures with it, and every single texture of that kind will have a wall variant to it, which, you know what, is just some of the most valuable feature a block can have for a build. Oh, and for the roof, I decided to go with warped planks, but that's not actually what we're gonna be going with. Instead of warped planks, I wanted to originally use copper, like fully oxidized one, but it takes so friggin' long to wait for it to oxidize that I'm afraid this video will just not come out on time if I just go directly for it. So, in the meantime, warped planks it is. It is also teal, and it's only a little bit of a darker shade. We'll swap it later, I promise. Now for the exciting part. We actually are gonna plan the castle right now, more or less. less actually, because we will not be planning the entire castle all at once. I want to start with a footprint of it, mostly just kind of imagining it in my head as I go, and thank you to Grover for skipping the night for me. I've seen some builders build out entire like wireframes and giant boxes out of colored wool and that kind of stuff just to figure out their build. I don't really feel like that's efficient when it comes to survival. For one, because specifically, I mean, you'll need the colored wool, and I understand that wool is not necessarily a material hard to come by, but also, you know, come on, you gotta place the blocks, then remove the blocks, then place new blocks again. That's a little bit convoluted in it. So it's great for communicating to another builder what you want to build, and it's a responsible thing to do. We're here not doing responsible things. We're very much just winging it as long as we can fake it. Fake until we make it, and what we're making it is a castle. I am actually still using a few principles here, just on the principle matter. You can tell that I'm building in threes, for example. It might not necessarily always be 3, because this is, for example, a 7. But a 7 is basically just a 3 with 2 at each end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 in the middle. Bada bing boom, you got yourself a 7. Here we go, a 7 is just a 3 with 1 in the middle twice. And this is just, you know, just a 3 blocks. I am instantly adding variety to the textures instead of texturizing later too, because this way it will be easier for me to measure out what I'm building and then even mirror blocks here and there. This is a little bit, just a teensy tiny bit superior to the idea of building stuff with colored wool, and it's especially convenient because we're using Deepslate already, and naturally Deepslate is here to stay. Deepslate is the MVP of today's video. This plan even kind of gives us an idea of what this entire thing is gonna look like by the end. Like, you can pretty much assume that this straight line going through the entire build is gonna be a big wall of some sort, and that these little bits, you know, adding the depth to it, are gonna be some sort of support pillars. And hey, that's another really cool thing about this. If I end up not delivering on something that I sketched out for this, who's gonna stop me? It's my castle. Who's gonna come in and like wag their finger at me? The plant police? Okay, let's take a look from space. Actually, from the sky. Here's the approximate plan of what I could only say is 1/3 of what I want to build. Like, that there is what we'll be working on today, because that's the place that requires no terraforming. At least until we hit that particular cliff. And hey, that particular cliff is also only like half an hour of work to remove, so it wouldn't be an issue. Hey, we actually might not need to remove it at all, because, my friends, castles are tall. That's basically my input here. Castles are really tall, and starting a castle with just a living ground, like some sort of a living level, is a little bit silly. It's just not how they're built. So this perimeter here, right, this footprint we just left, is actually gonna be raised by approximately 9 blocks. And I'm pretty sure that this cliff currently is 6, 7, yeah, 9 blocks exactly. So it actually doesn't obstruct us at all, which is gonna raise the ground level by the factor of 9. And after we're done, we'll just continue planning out in that direction. This area I actually really like, because it is not quite enclosed, but it is enclosed enough to create some sort of an inner court. Now, this is not gonna be the indoors, this is gonna be an outdoors court of some sort, just, you know, an outdoors area. And of course, this area down here will also change quite a bit, because as I found out, quite a few of local buildings are actually in the way of what I want to be our grand hall. So yeah, you can imagine that's gonna be pretty grand, I would wager. So right now we just need to grab a ton of Deepslate and raise the level on which we'll be building, and see if we can go from there. Maybe we won't have to terraform as much. And hey, that's actually another thing about the ground level that we're going to be raising. If we don't like it, if it's gonna be too tall, if it's gonna be not convenient enough, that's also okay, that's fine. We're just gonna terraform the ground around it to be a little bit taller, to be a little bit higher. And as a result, the basement itself, the foundation itself, is not gonna be as tall. Welcome to Minecraft. Everything is subject to change, whether you like it or not. Oh, this is looking pretty sweet. Complete waste of Deepslate, mind you. Basically an entire shulker box just placed. And that's not even a third of what I have in store, what I have like imagined at the very least. Seriously, I've been at it for several hours now, and all I got is the foundation. Oh my lord. It's not even a foundation, it's the dungeon. All I got is a dungeon of a castle. Honestly, I could stop right here and I would be very, very happy. So much room for activities! Can put all sorts of redstone up there. So I'm thinking we're gonna section off the area that we already have and focus on getting it done for today's video. Because, yeah, clearing out this much terrain, or even, you know, just making space for more of the footprint to appear, is gonna take absolutely forever, and I want this video to be done someday, potentially. So we're gonna start from assuming that this area down here, this square and towards there, is gonna be the ground hall, meaning that next up there's gonna be a corridor over the 1, 2, 3 segments of this wall, up until these 2 pillars of sorts, which will function as some sort of a tower. Quite a bit of work, but I'm really hoping that the right wing today is gonna get finished. So here's my thinking as far as the basement goes. You know, foundation, then basement, then it's gonna be ground level. We're gonna set up, first and foremost, a 4-block tall level to go under the main floor, more or less. I don't know whether it's gonna be meant for servants or for, you know, some sort of machinery or for potential secret passages later into the game, but it is gonna be pretty cool just to have it. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th one we're gonna put together a block like this, using walls basically to create extra depth into the entire situation. After which we actually are gonna put together something like this, just to mark off where the actual story is gonna begin for us. On a side, I'm planning to actually have this corner here be occupied by a full block, but then swap to another wall block, but actually one that's made out of the tile ones. This is gonna add additional depth and is just gonna look really, really nice. And then finally the wall itself will be done 1 extra block inwards and made mostly out of spruce with some mushroom blocks here and there, just, you know, to keep the illusion. Actually, there's another reason why I wanted this to be a spruce material, a spruce planks specifically. Because, you know, it's kind of weird to have been using planks instead of logs in this build. Well, the trick is that I actually want to use barrels in the build. Because you see, barrels is a unique block that, unlike most of the others, has too much in textures on it. It has the spruce plank texture to match with the spruce planks, and these black lines that match way too well with the black stone over here. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty cool, hopefully. We're gonna see how that works out. Actually, I decided to move this plank wall a little bit outwards, because that way we get to make a little bit nicer separator between the levels, between this and this. Basically something like this, alternating half slabs and full blocks. As for the story itself, or at the very least for this corridor section, I'm thinking I'm gonna put together this Deepslate ornament 3 times across these sections, and then fill it in using the mushroom blocks and the spruce. I actually have a pretty cool window design using spruce trapdoors, so I'm feeling very confident. And yeah, about that too. Whenever I do windows made out of anything except glass, and let's flip and face it, nowadays I basically almost always do that kind of stuff, I always end up also still putting glass right behind the window design anyway. That basically uses up twice the space, admittedly, but here's the trick. With this design, with the design we went for down there, we actually already did step out one block out of the original line of the wall. Basically, we're gonna get double thick walls with this design, and that's actually really cool, because double thick allows us to do different design for the wall on the inside than the one on the outside, which is incredibly convenient for when you actually want to do something with your interior, as opposed to just suffer the way it looks on the outside. As for the window design itself, I was just thinking something along these lines. Trapdoors in the middle to kind of intersperse it. Although this is 3 blocks wide and that there is at least 7. Ooh, I might need something more elaborate. Also, 2 trapdoors put together this way basically make a vertical slab, and that is never not funny to me somehow. Pum 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 pum. Let's take a look. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, I'm real happy about this. We are keeping this wall design and spreading it. I keep doing this. I keep just coming up with elaborate designs, and then I have to actually replicate them over and over. Actually, it's not even 2 more times. It's actually 3 more times after that, because these walls will have to be mirrored onto that side. I mean, I could probably get away with putting a chimney on the opposite side or something like that. Oh, look at that! Oh, now that puts a smile on my face. Now comes the fun part, and I mean, I know I say that about every single part, but look, I really like roofs. Now, I was thinking for this to make one of the spiky roofs, because you can't really go bad, you can't really go wrong with spiky in Gothic, but then I decided no, straight 45 degrees using stairs is gonna be fine. It's gonna be something along the lines of this. And it kinda does look a little bit incredibly boring, yeah, I do admit. But here's the trick though. We're gonna have a little bit of a twist to it. The twist is that I don't nearly have enough warped planks, I'll have to go gather them. No, actually the twist is that we will gonna add this little mohawk, as I like to call it. Mahawk. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's gonna be a little bit of a support bench, support beam even. It's gonna stick out by a couple of blocks, and it is actually going to be 3 blocks wide. That's right, we'll have this nice stairway down the middle at every bit in these columns. You see this column and this one. That's where we're gonna place it, right on top of them. And what's really cool about it, and what I haven't seen anyone do yet, and which I'm really proud of, is that down the middle of this mohawk, we're gonna put the pointed dripstone, imitating the decorations that the nice Gothic buildings on the pictures all have. Something amongst these lines. Now, are they gonna be visible from down below? That's a good question. I hope they will be. But just looking at it right now, you can tell this is really looking really good, right? Or at the very least, it is gonna look really good on top of that there building. You know, when I said that I'm not gonna build with dripstone in a million years, I didn't mean it because that's how long it takes to grow. This material is incredibly frustrating to farm, but it is after all, incredibly useful for this one project that we're doing. And for this one project, look at it. It's just wonderful. Just the spikes themselves. We aren't even doing the expensive kind, you know, the actual full blocks. We're just using the spikes, and even that's already super long to farm. But it looks really nice from down here. Now, this area here is basically done. We are finished with the corridor, as I call it. I mean, admittedly, it could use a floor, and also there are these window, like on top of the window, the little empty sides, which I decided to put some color into, believe it or not. I don't know why, but I felt like maybe golden yellow is gonna be a really nice color to throw in. And I even try and put in 3 different samples of yellow material to see which one is gonna look the best. So naturally, example 1 is gonna be yellow terracotta, example 2 is gonna be yellow concrete powder, and example 3 is gonna be gold, and you know what? I think we're gonna take what's behind the door number 1. So as of right now, this does not necessarily look like too much of a castle. It still is very much in that mansionish territory. And I guess I can tell why, and I guess you can tell why. Especially from down below, it just doesn't look very towery. We're very used to castles having towers, and we're very used to castles being very tall. So it's about time we did something like that. What I'm thinking right now is I'm thinking of taking this square around here, which is not actually a square whatsoever, it's actually a rectangle. But the area consistent between this square and that square, so this would be the corners. And in each corner of it, I want to put, if not a tower, then a toweringly tall. A towering tall building, basically reaching up for the sky, going over this roof, over everything else, and fulfilling the very vertical feel of the build, where they have the horizontal line to outweigh it, to balance it, so it only makes sense for us to finally reach for the sky. I am a little bit concerned about the cloud level being basically 5 blocks above where our roof already is, so I guess some rooms are just frequently gonna be gassed by the clouds. But you know what? I'm actually okay with that. It's fine. Why even have a castle if it doesn't pierce the clouds? Oh, also I decided that we're gonna be, for this side, doing a little bit more with contrast and introducing a new block into the palette. It's just unstained terracotta. You can tell why I decided that it's gonna be, you know, mundane enough to fit in, but still just contrasty enough to look really nice. And another fair warning is that we will be going for a very sizable chunk of it going like this, so just large amounts of the same block. That's not perfect, I'll give you that, and we will be texturizing it with light gray stained terracotta, which is also of a very pleasant, very similar color to this one. And a very pleasant, very similar color to the actual terracotta itself too, meaning that there won't be too much variety and it's just gonna look like a variant as opposed to its own thing. Just trust me on this one, okay, and I'm gonna bring you back in with some quality wireframe. I have lost all the time-lapse footage for this part. Now, if you didn't understand what I meant by wireframe, well, this is what I meant. The Deepslate outline of every detail and every wall and every other thing, which luckily in this style is actually gonna be a part of the actual building. But luckily this still results in a comprehensive plan of what we're about to do. You can see this wall is gonna be quite impressive and quite sizable, with a lot of plain space, but I have just the idea of what to do with that plain space, my friends, and that this wall will have some sort of a break in between its wall up here. And that break, my friends, we actually are gonna utilize for, I wanna say, a balcony, because there's gonna be an entrance in this little roof part, this little wall part right here. But the truth of the matter is, I'm pretty sure it's not actually a balcony, it's a viewing platform. And my oh my, what a view it has. Either way, it's gonna look pretty nice, especially because we will be making that part have a unique extra block palette. We will be introducing a new block into the frame, and that is the honeycomb. You see, the trick here is that I still want to use yellow color in it. But yellow terracotta, yellow concrete, and any other yellow block that I was about to use, even gold, except maybe gold, has a texture that is contrasting with the honey block, but not in the way you would expect. Usually when we say contrast, we mean color. We mean black and white are contrasting. But this is yellow and this is yellow, so it's not contrasting until you consider that the texture itself has noise in it. This is a noisy, very detailed texture. This is a plain as plain gets. So between the two, there's a visual contrast. It has nothing to do with color, but has everything to do with the way the block is perceived. Detailed blocks attract attention. Plain blocks allow your eyes to rest. Both are incredibly important, and we'll be using both in this design. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab my newfound block palette, apply it, and you get to enjoy a really nice time-lapse of this build coming alive. And look at that, we got ourselves an incredibly majestic cliffside castle. Oh, it looks absolutely amazing as a cloud Z fights through the top of it. I might have to disable the clouds just to get the full extent of it. But yeah, this is where it's at the moment. We have put together the corridor, the corner building, and there's quite a bit of the right wing itself left to do at the moment. However, we won't be doing it today. Instead, we will be following up on this in part 2. And part 2 is gonna be actually basically my favorite part. It's gonna be incredibly exciting because that's where we get into towers, buttresses, flying buttresses, all that kind of stuff. And it's actually gonna be much easier for me to record and make because we already have established the structural palette and the block palette, the color palette of the entire build. But this might be where you are wondering at the moment. Why is there a giant blank spot on a wall right there? And well, my friends, that's because this is the side which I expect people to see as they approach the most. So this, I decided, would be the perfect place for me to put the house insignia. Some sort of a heraldic representation of my place, of my family, so to speak. And I have already designed one that will fit just right in. Now, it might look like a squid to you, but it's meant to be a little bit of a ghast. And in my opinion, it fits really well because a ghast is a ghost and we're trying to build Gothic haunted mansion. A ghast is a very powerful mob and personally my favorite one. It looks kind of like a squid, which it helps to do because we are a seaside property. And it looks a little bit like a skull, which is very threatening. And doesn't it look amazing on the side of our castle? Oh, it's great. My only regret is I couldn't make it golden like the accent color of the entire rest of the build because there is no really yellow slabs and stairs. Speaking of, yeah, if you can untangle which up there is a slab and which up there is a stair, you get all these low points and my appreciation. Anyhow, I'm really happy with how this is turning out and I hope that so are you. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Look forward to this part 2, and just to make sure that you won't miss it, do subscribe to this channel and do leave a like if you enjoyed this video. That's gonna be it for today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. This has been ZloyXP. This has been Truly Bedrock, which is the server I actually am recording this on. Do check out more Truly Bedrock videos on my channel if you would like. And to be continued, have a good one. Bye bye.